Ladies and gents, welcome back to another episode of Caught in the Mix, the YouTube show where I give you my honest personal opinion on new and upcoming tracks, singles, albums, as well as looking down memory lane, looking at some older pieces of work and ranking them on a scale encompassing the mixing, the mastery, the lyrics, as well as the beats themselves. Now today I am actually very excited for this review because we will be reviewing MGMT's latest release, As You Move Through the World. I am ecstatic because I am one of the biggest MGMT fans. I love a lot of the projects start to finish. They give a lot of different vibes for different moods that you're feeling. Congratulations is by far one of the best albums for a low-key kind of studying sound. I actually can't study to many songs whatsoever, but Congratulations remains one of those only albums/songs that I can listen to just for chilling out. MGMT broke waves with their release of their 2007 Ocular Spectacular, which did numbers on charts, made it to mainstream radio, had a huge #1 song with Kids that dominated the charts and still gets played on many a radio station and many other streaming platforms. I would go as far as to say that this album could be considered a classic, with how many tracks on it just have so much replay value and are so just encapsulating of that time, that era. I think that moving forward in the future, we'll kind of look back at that album as a timestamp as far as what the 2010s kind of really had to offer. I think Ocular Spectacular is a great example of the peak of music in the 2000s. I kind of stopped listening to MGMT following their Ocular Spectacular album until they released their 2018 Little Dark Age album, which at first I thought was off base. I thought this album was whack. I thought this album wasn't nothing like in the positive direction. I thought they were moving in a wrong direction. But after listening to this album, and after listening to Little Dark Age, the single itself, and kind of really digesting it, this possibly will be my top listened to album this year. I just love the dark undertones with all the beats while keeping that kind of like synth and 80s almost inspired trap beats, and having such a monotone but commanding voice on Little Dark Age, the single itself. I think that album is underrated. I think that album will again be something that's rediscovered years to come, and where people will actually realize, you know, how many risks MGMT took to release something that's nothing like Ocular Spectacular. Ocular Spectacular still had mainstream themes in it. It still kept a traditional rhyme scheme. It still kept the traditional, cadence. Whereas Little Dark Age throws it out the window. Little Dark Age kind of just paves its own path in that sense, and kind of shows you where the band's going, which I am really excited about, because they went for more ambient, more cinematic production, as well as just delivering bars that aren't mainstream and bars that kind of make you think a little deeper. So I'm very excited to hear what they have moving forward. And without further ado, I think we're just going to get into the new track, which is As You Move Through the World. Let's get into it. Now, just looking at the song here, I see that it is a 7-minute and 34-second song, which is a long song by MGMT standards and kind of just by modern music standards. So I believe it's going to be kind of like a grand production, like a almost ode to something. They did a similar amount of time, a similar length and track with of Moons, Birds, and Monsters, which was a ridiculous song, so underrated in the MGMT discography. So it's not to say that I'm not a fan of their longer tracks, and I'm hoping that this one kind of is a grand production like that track as well. Starting with some shimmering instrumentals. It's funny, you can just see directly where MGMT kind of gets their influence from. This intro sounding so similar to the Echoes intro from Pink Floyd that we just reviewed recently. As far as the ambient sounds, the subtle tones of it being either underwater or in space, you know, like the airy feeling of it. And the gradual build-up. And just like Echoes and of Birds, Moons, and Monsters, the instrumental becoming slightly more distorted as time goes on, until it's irrecognizable. Those drums coming in. MGMT's drumming is nuts. It is phenomenal. That's half the reason why I listen to their tracks. I'd almost argue this is more like a deep cut, like a trance song. That distortion continually getting louder though. Perhaps will bubble and it'll burst at some point. Not that the vocals were ever crisp, but they sound like they got even more distorted now. Almost like the message is lost. Yep. Such a good use of static. Just to kind of reinforce that the track is getting distorted. And this is not what the original formation was. The other reason why I listen to MGMT, listen to those drums. These subtle moments of clarity only inundated with moments of complete disruption. with your deeper bass coming in. Even the bass getting confused, though, you hear that. It's all about it getting disrupted. Until it all loses structure. All right, so that is the first taste we have of MGMT moving forward. MGMT getting into the next project. MGMT kind of deviating from their even further from their mainstream sound that they kind of developed on Ocular Spectacular. As MGMT kind of continues down this path, I'm really excited for what they have to offer. I'm hoping for possibly a whole album of this deeper trance music that just kind of focuses heavily on the instrumentals. I was reading along here. I pull up the lyrics for most of the reviews I do, and there's actually only four lines in this whole song, which is "As you move through the world" 3 times, and "I can question and comfortably in your house." So just showing kind of that MGMT is taking letting the lyrics take a backseat for a second and letting their deep trance instrumentals, the reason why most of their fan base listens, take kind of the spotlight and allow it a chance to shine on its own. I really enjoyed that track. I really enjoy just the precedent it sets for MGMT moving forward. I hope that on their larger project, there will be songs like this that are just slightly more fleshed out and maybe with a slightly consumer edge on it. I don't want them to give in completely to the consumer ear, but I would like it if MGMT kind of came to the forefront again of indie trance, indie EDM, and just made more waves and got more fans so that they can do more, so that they can adventure more. Yeah, so I was really impressed with that track. Considering the production, that was phenomenal, and the instruments they decide to use and how they strung them together and how they chose certain instruments to complement each other, amazing. I'd have to give that like a 10 out of 10 just for production alone. I think that this sound is phenomenal for them moving forward, and I just want to see them hone it more. So that being said, I am going to give them some room to grow, for some wiggle room to really master this sound, and I'm going to rate this track a 8.5 out of 10. So yeah, it's going to wrap it up for me, guys. Let me know what you thought about this track. If you have any trivia about the track and you want to leave it down below, don't be afraid. Let me know what your thoughts are again, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks, guys.